Until October 3, 2021, only 10 countries had aircraft carriers. The United States, China, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, India, Italy, Spain, Brazil, and Thailand. After that date, there were 11 such countries. They included Japan. In this video, we'll talk about Japanese aircraft carriers and, most importantly, the reasons for their appearance and how it'll affect international relations, and why the 3rd of October 2021 can be considered the last official day of the world order formed after Second World War. The world has finally entered a new era, an era in which it'll once again have to choose a world leader. This means that a war of planetary scale may break out again, which will surely be fatal for our civilization. Sit back, it's going to be interesting, and here we go. Recall that the main results of World War II were the final establishment of the United States as a world leader, the division of Germany into two states, the GDR included in the orbit of influence of the USSR and the FRG belonging to the Western camp, and also the demilitarization of Japan. The land of the rising sun signed the San Francisco Peace Treaty, in which it renounced the right to a military presence outside its territory. This provision was enshrined in the Japanese Constitution, sincerely striving for international peace based on justice and order. The Japanese people forever renounce war as a sovereign right of the nation and the threat or use of armed force as a means of settling international disputes, reads Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution. Aircraft carriers are considered offensive weapons that can threaten other countries and disrupt international order. Therefore, Japan was forbidden to have such ships. At the turn of the second millennium AD, the established world order began to crack at the seams. At the beginning of the 3rd of October 1990, there was a merger of the two Germanies. The GDR became a part of the FRG. The world correctly regarded it as a defeat of the USSR in the Cold War, and exactly 21 years later, there was an event that finally put an end to the old world order. On that day, two F-35B fighter bombers piloted by pilots from the 242nd Fighter Attack Squadron of the U.S. Marine Corps Aviation, which is stationed in Japan at Iwakuni Air Base, landed and then took off from the Japanese helicopter carrier Izumo, thus turning it into an aircraft carrier. So the 75-year post-World War II era is over. Why did Japan violate its own constitution? October 3, 1990 is the day of the West's victory over the USSR, and more broadly over the global South that the Soviet Union epitomized. But the 3rd of October 2021 represents something completely different. The West realizes that the global South is going to take revenge, to oust the United States as world leader, and is fundamentally preparing for it. The Western elite turned out to be right. After all, after October 3, 2021, February 24, 2022 happened. Russia attacked Ukraine. And if we look globally, the South has launched a decisive offensive against the West, and Taiwan could be next. Specifically speaking about Japan, the country of proud samurai actually found itself in a semicircle of countries hostile to it, and strong, and very strong militarily. From the north, Putin's huge, aggressive Russia loomed over the country. In the center is probably even more aggressive North Korea, ruled by Kim Jong-un, and to the south, China, led by Ping. To ignore such a danger would be the height of folly, and the Japanese aren't stupid by any stretch of the imagination. The conversion of helicopter carriers into more formidable weapons, aircraft carriers, is one of Japan's responses to this danger. Now briefly about these helicopter carriers, the Izumo and the Kaga. Their construction began in 2012 and 2013, respectively. The Japanese announced that they would be home to air groups of 14 helicopters each. This caused a lot of bewilderment on the part of observers. A ship with a total displacement of 27,000 tons, a length of 248 meters, which is 40 meters longer than the British light aircraft carrier Invincible, through the flight deck, 2 helicopter elevators, and only 14 helicopters as the main weapon looked strange. The descendants of the samurai, however, shrugged their shoulders, smiled, and mumbled something about Japan being a peaceful country. So they smiled until 2019, when the Japanese Defense Ministry approved a draft budget that included upgrading ships to be able to carry the F-35. On October 3, 2021, as we mentioned, 2 U.S. F-35Bs conducted their first flight, which included takeoff and landing from Izumo. Naturally, significant work had been done on the ship up to that point. The landing and aircraft traffic control systems had been modernized, power generation had been increased, and power lines had been significantly upgraded. But the main work was to apply a heat-resistant coating to the flight deck, since initially no aircraft were planned to be launched from the Izumo. Recall that the F-35B is a variant of the low-observable multi-role 5th-generation fighter bomber from the F-35 Lightning II family, developed by U.S. firm Lockheed Martin. The F-35B variant has a short takeoff and vertical landing capability, is the second in the F-35 family of aircraft, and is intended for the U.S. Marine Corps. Its current operators, in addition to the U.S., are the UK and Italy. From June 2020 to June 2021, Izumo underwent work by Japan Marine United in Yokohama. The first phase of modernization work cost 3.1 billion yen. This is about $28 million and is mainly concerned with the possibility of basing on Izumo F-35B aircraft. The second phase of work will begin after the pilots finish the cycle of test flights, that is, approximately at the beginning of 2025. During this phase, the shape of the bow of the ships will be changed. It'll be widened for safer takeoff and landing of aircraft. The electronic optical landing system, JPALS, will be installed. Hangars and elevators for aircraft will be completely re-equipped. Fuel, oil, spare parts, and component storage facilities will be adjusted for new needs. Also at this stage, the second helicopter carrier of this series, the Kaga, will be fully modernized. There are no plans to install ramps, relying on the F-35B's ability to take off and land almost vertically. Once the two phases are completed, Izumo and Kaga will be full-fledged light aircraft carriers capable of carrying up to 16 F-35B aircraft. Let's talk a little more about the technical characteristics of these ships. The regular crew of the ships is 470 people, while the actual number of military personnel on board, taking into account aviation and technical personnel and landing forces, may exceed 1,000 people. 4 General Electric LM2500 turbines propel the 27,000-ton ship to 30 knots. The designers of the Izumo and Kaga have completely abandoned any integrated armament except for 12 20mm Mark 15 Phalanx Sea-Wiz anti-aircraft guns and 2 CRAM surface-to-air missiles with a range of up to 10 kilometers. How will Japan's 2 light aircraft carriers change the balance of power in the region? Today, Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force, as the country's Navy is officially called, is already a formidable force. In addition to 2 aircraft carriers, Izumi and Kaga, the Japanese have 2 helicopter carriers, Hyuga and Ise, with a displacement of 18,000 tons, as well as 8 modern destroyers, clones of the American Arleigh Burke, designed for missile and air defense. Just as easily and quickly, defensive anti-aircraft missiles and universal launch silos can be replaced by tactical strike weapons, plus 28 destroyers of older designs, 10 frigates, and 23 diesel submarines. According to expert estimates, the Japanese naval forces are already more than 2.5 times larger than the Russian Pacific Fleet in terms of firepower. This is true without taking into account Russian nuclear submarines. But the Japanese are not going to stop there. On December 16, 2022, the Japanese government approved the National Security Strategy, which envisages, in particular, the strengthening of the Navy. In particular, it stipulated that Tokyo reserves the right to launch counterstrikes against targets in the territory of a potential enemy. At the same time, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida ordered to ensure in 5 years, i.e. in 2027, the financing of the military budget at the level of 8.9 trillion yen, or $64.8 billion at the current exchange rate. This is about 1.7 times more than last year. This year, the amount is 6.8 trillion yen, or about $49 billion. A significant part of the increase in military spending is planned to be spent on the purchase of new weapons. How will this affect the fleet? First of all, the Japanese plan to create 2 missile defense ships. These will be real giants with a standard displacement of about 20,000 tons. The first of them will be commissioned at the end of 2027 and the second at the end of 2028. They will be equipped with a particularly powerful missile defense Aegis Ashore, which at first was supposed to be placed on land, but then considered it best to equip the ships. Also, their large size will allow these ships to accommodate numerous silos for various types of missiles. In addition to providing the needs of missile defense, they'll be able to launch missiles capable of striking long-range strikes against land and sea targets being out of range of the enemy. The Japanese Defense Ministry notes that these ships are being built with an eye primarily on North Korea, which is actively developing its missile development and periodically launches ballistic missiles toward the Sea of Japan. Accordingly, the new warships are expected to be able to intercept North Korean missiles flying at high altitudes. In addition, Japanese Defense Minister Yasukazu Hamada said that these ships will be equipped to intercept hypersonic missiles from China, Russia, and North Korea. Plus, the Japanese have a deal with the U.S. to supply 42 F-35B aircraft, but only 16 plus 16 will fit on its 2 helicopter carriers for a total of 32 machines. What are 10 more for? To use on land-based airfields? That's silly. The F-35A is perfect for that. It has higher technical characteristics, in particular the range, and it costs less than the deck modification. Maybe to convert the other 2 smaller helicopter carriers, Hyuga and Issei, into aircraft carriers? It seems that the Japanese are guided by their wise proverb, fast is slow, but without interruptions. If we compare them with China, the Japanese certainly look weaker. The Celestial Empire's naval forces are now second only to the U.S., while rapidly catching up with them. Now, China already has 3 full-fledged aircraft carriers. The last one, the Fujian, with a displacement of 85,000 tons, is due to enter service this year. But who says Japan will be alone in the fight with China? The United States and South Korea will probably join in. In short, it's going to be a tough fight. On one side are the U.S., Japan, and South Korea, China, Russia, and North Korea on the other. And it looks like whoever controls Southeast Asia will control the whole world. That's where the future world leader will be determined. Will the U.S. hold that title, or will there be a replacement? Time will tell. What do you think about Japanese aircraft carriers and the possible fight between this country and China? Write about it in your comments below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. Please also don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and share your thoughts in the comments. See you soon.